So it was pointed out that it would be helpful to have different ways of studying and also more sort of lower level exercises to make sure that each of the fundamental pieces of writing code is easier. So I have an exercise for today that you can use forever for kind of drilling and practicing how to write code and how to read it also as part of this. Let me share screen. So, cool. So here we are. Slideshow. All right, cool. So code replacement drill. So today, which is Thursday, January 26th, 2023. So finish quiz 3 code review discussion. We're going to talk through that right now, and we're going to learn this new strategy. And then before next class, please, which is on Monday, finish the code replacement drill, and then in 2 weeks, turn in your quiz corrections and reflections. And so this code review of different ways of answering the questions, the coding computer questions on quiz 3 might be helpful for that. So we've got this code review. We talked about some of these in class. I'm going to add another one of these. But we've got answers to one of these questions, and the things we want to think about are, does this code solve the problem? How do you know that it solves the problem? And how easy is it to figure out whether or not this code solves the problem? And then think about, of the different choices, of the different examples that we have here, which one do you like the best and why? If you were to create one, given that you've seen these different ways of doing it, what would be some things that you would take away from these examples? So we'll discuss that in class, and there's a document here that we can go to. These are our questions. I'm even going to add if you were to make your own version again, what would you learn from these examples? And include in your version. Okay, cool. So we've got question 7 here, which we went over in class last time. We have question 8, which we have A, B, C, D, E. We have a lot of different versions of this, and we can think about what makes each of these more or less readable, and do they in fact solve the problem, and how can we tell? And this is question 9 that we were just looking at. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here. Oops. That's not how you, sorry, let me escape this. Okay, so for our code review, we're just gonna talk through those questions in class. And now let's talk about this drill. So here's our Q9. All right. Okay, so even before we get there, actually, commit history. So one of the reasons we are using Git is it makes it really easy to look back at what has happened to the code, what changes have been made. We can roll back to a previous version, we can compare different versions. It's very helpful. So Git keeps track of all of the changes you make, and you can look at your commit history by clicking on the commits button here, this link that'll take you to your commit history, which has every single commit that you've ever posted. And then if you click on one of these little tags, these are individual unique identifiers for each of the commits, then it'll bring you to what changes were actually made. And if you want to click on Browse Files, you can see the exact state of the code base after that commit. So we'll just follow this link and look at an example. So here's our example. So we've got our repository, and I can click on this 14 commits link. I'm going to zoom into this a little bit. Okay, I'm going to click on this 14. And that's going to take me to a list of all of the commits that I have made to this repository. And then I can click on one of my commits. So this is the unique identifier for one of my commits that I made in the past. Oh my goodness, my video is being weird. Good, sorry. Okay. So when we click on the commit, it'll take us to the changes. You can see there's a plus here to indicate that this line was added. If we go back to this one, for example, we've got one plus green line that was added, and then we've got another line minus that was subtracted. It was deleted from the code base. And so we've got no more this line, but now we have this comment. And if we go to Browse Files, we'll see that that file doesn't have the deleted line, but it does have the added line. So this is the state of the code after those changes were made. So that's the Git history. So now, let's finally talk about the code replacement drill. So basically what we want to do is start with working code. And then we want to add a comment above one of the parts of code, like one of the lines of code, and then delete that line of code or a larger chunk later on in the process. When you're doing this drill, it's nice to start with a single line of code, add a comment above it, and delete that line. Then, looking only at the comment and not looking at the code that used to be there, rewrite that line of code. And then check if the overall program still works. And do that for one line of code at a time. So delete the line, or add a comment, delete the line of code, and then replace the code back. As you're doing this, we're going to do an assignment where I'm just checking that you're understanding what we're doing. So for that, make a commit after you add a comment and delete the line. So make a commit at that point and just call the commit message comment. And then go back in, rewrite the code, and make another commit and have the message be code. So this is an example of a commit where I removed a line of code and added a comment. And then this is where I then took that comment and re-implemented the line of code right underneath it. So go through and do one line at a time, add a comment, delete the line of code, replace the code. Then start building up bigger chunks of code. So you might do this entire for loop. So this 2 lines of code at once. So this would be like add law to song 5 times. That could be a comment for this chunk of code. You would delete that chunk of code after you've written the comment, and then you would go back and write the code. So The requirements for this assignment are in Schoology. Schoology. We'll go to V3 and we'll go to code replacement drill. Okay, cool. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry for the video. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna kill my video while nope, it's decided to function again. No, it's decided to freeze. Okay, great. Okay, so grading, we're gonna do, oh, here we go, I'm gonna stop the video. Okay, so grading 10 points for having at least 10 pairs of commits that are like comment and code. So have at least 10 of those, and 3 of those 10 should be multi-line. So larger than just one line at a time, where you comment out a whole section of code and then replace it. So you comment the section of code, delete the section of code, and then rewrite the code later. So that would be 2 commits that you would have for this multi-line section. And then make sure that for every single pair of commits that you do, once you write the code again, run your program, make sure it still does the same thing as it used to do. And if you mess up and commit something that doesn't work, just do it again, and make sure that at least 10 of the pairs of commits you have, that code commit is working the way that it's supposed to. So that's the task for this drill. When you're practicing on your own, you don't have to worry about the commits, but you do have access to this style of practicing, and you can start with any working code. So we can go through this example. So we'll start with working code. We look at the output. We take this first line, song equals empty string, and we comment it. We say, okay, we're going to initialize the song variable to an empty string. Great. Then we delete the line of code, so it's not there anymore. Then from memory, we rewrite the code song equals empty string. It's okay if it's not exactly the same way that it's written, but it should cause the same thing to happen in the output. So at the end, we check, is the output the same? Yes, it is. So we don't even have to check that the code is the same. We just have to check that the output is the same. Cool. So we're going to work on that. I just want to make it a little bit clearer. So in the README, it has some suggestions of where to get your working code from. So I gave you some examples from the quiz multiple choice section, and you can choose one of those. Don't choose the one that I just did, but choose any of the other ones. You can also find something from another exercise. You can find something from a project. You can find something from just searching on GitHub for something you're interested in. And if you want to do that for like a larger repository that has a lot of code that works together, and you want to really like understand how that's working, what I would recommend is if there's multiple files involved in that project, fork the project, which is this button right here. So that'll make a copy of the repository specifically in your account that has all of the history that they had, but then your changes are your own. So that's a way to start off with somebody else's code and work from there. So if you want something more advanced, go ahead and find something cool on GitHub and do this drill with that. If you do that, just send me a link to your fork. Okay, cool. And then today we will work on any corrections and reflections that you want to work on, and also this code replacement drill, which is due before class on Monday. Cool, thanks.